among all the bad news, we have to talk about some good news as well. And there's three pieces of good news that we have to mention. Number one, Bitcoin supply is actually shrinking on exchanges and continues to shrink. Now, obviously, this applies to both the spot supply and the OTC supply. So yes, Michael Saylor buying is having an effect. And it's probably part of what's keeping the Bitcoin price up despite the geopolitical factors. The problem is the altcoin supply isn't really shrinking. There's plenty of altcoins out there, so they're not having the same effect. So yes, the Bitcoin supply is shrinking on exchanges, and both on exchanges and OTC desks, there has been a significant shrinkage. So even as BTC demand, and particularly the US, continues rising, the number of Bitcoin held on centralized crypto exchanges continues to decline. Since the beginning of 2025, balances have dropped another 14% down to just 2.5 million BTC. This trend typically signals growing investor confidence in a long-term holding behavior. Coins are being moved into cold storage or custodial wallets, reducing the liquid supply available for sale, which means exchanges eventually might have to buy Bitcoin at higher and higher prices. But let's not forget, the spot market still has about 2.5 million BTC available. Of course, that's with so much short-term supply gone, the short-term sell pressure will weaken, and that will help boost Bitcoin short-term prices. OTC desks, which facilitate large off-exchange trades, are also showing signs of tightening supply. While these desks usually operate by matching buyers and sellers, they are still relying on holding Bitcoin reserves to enable fast and credible execution. Currently, those reserves are at historic lows. According to Crypto Quant, OTC addresses have seen a 19% drop in balances since January, and they just hold 134,252 BTC. That is not enough. Michael Saylor does a couple of buys. He can wipe that out very, very easily. So this data actually suggests a pretty big drop. And realistically, we haven't had, this is the lowest number of Bitcoin we've had on OTCs since 2015, 2016. So basically, since crypto has become a big deal, we've never had such a low OTC supply. So obviously, that's going to play well with Bitcoin price because that's going to have a lot of buy pressure and less sell pressure. So that is very, very good. The second thing is the Ethereum ETFs have frenzied in terms of inflows. Even though Bitcoin ETF buys have stalled a little bit in the last couple of weeks, Ethereum has gone up by 5x. And just this week, the ETFs have seen inflows of 154,000 Ethereum this week. So obviously, the Ethereum ETFs are finally getting a little bit of demand at least. And this might actually get some of the big players to actually file for altcoin ETFs. One of the reasons BlackRock and Fidelity did not file for altcoin ETFs is because they believed there was no demand for these ETFs because of the lack of demand for Ethereum ETFs. Well, now since Ethereum ETFs have suddenly seen a big inflow, maybe that will whet their appetites for other ETFs. And speaking of that, we do actually have really big news from Fidelity. They have filed for a Solana ETF. Now, Fidelity and BlackRock have not filed for a non-Bitcoin, non-Ethereum ETF. Now, Fidelity has actually filed for a Solana ETF. They've broken that rule. BlackRock has still not made a move at all. But Fidelity being the second biggest, that could actually get some of the motors rolling. And they've also filed for a Solana ETF with staking. And indeed, a lot of the other ETF issuers have also filed for an additional Solana ETF with staking. And this could be a big move and a big momentum shift for the ETF market. Now, if Fidelity and hopefully BlackRock comes into play, because we like the BlackRocks. BlackRock comes into play, this can just basically be a whole nother ballgame. And that would actually maybe get a flux of ETF on the altcoin side. And that would obviously increase altcoin demand and maybe get some of the companies to actually buy altcoins. because I do think altcoin ETF demand is going to be kind of low when they actually release. And I think BlackRock is taking a wait and see approach. I don't think they want to launch an ETF product that doesn't really have any demand at all. So they are waiting to see like what demand generates from these altcoin products that these other companies are actually launching. And if they see that they're getting some demand, BlackRock will probably file one too. And theirs probably won't take the entire 8 months if there's already other ETFs that are already out there. Because once they accept one, they're going to start accepting all of them. So they probably won't have to wait 8 months like the rest of these guys. Obviously, like the rest of these guys are going to get theirs approved first before BlackRock, but they can be close behind. And because BlackRock is so well known, they will have a lot of demand. And even if like the others don't get that much demand, I think BlackRock and Fidelity will actually take up most of the demand for the altcoin ETFs. And they would be a big boost to the altcoin ETFs themselves. So I'm hoping that this spurts BlackRock to actually do this as well. Now, these three things I do believe will right now mainly help Bitcoin, at least the first one, but the Ethereum ETF and the Fidelity filing for a Solana ETF with staking should boost the altcoin market. Now, Fidelity files right now. It is currently June. 8 months, they don't have to be accepted until February, but however, there are Solana ETFs that are going to be accepted probably in October. However, those do not have staking. So there is a separation between the ETFs with staking and the ETFs without staking. So we will most likely have altcoin ETFs without staking by October and altcoin ETFs with staking by next February. So looking at the geopolitical situation, especially with Israel and Iran, and oil prices going up, I think it might be prudent to move your expectations of an altcoin bull run, if you're still hoping for one, from late 2025 into early or mid 2026. Because we do need the Middle Eastern tension to calm down. Like I said, that has more of an effect than like other wars because it does involve oil. And of course, oil affects the price of everything. And looking at it right now, honestly, it does not seem like this conflict is going to go away very quickly. Iran has canceled all nuclear talks with the United States, unfortunately. And Israel and Iran have much, much further plans to continue striking each other. The Iron Dome couldn't block out all of Iran's missiles, so several of them have actually hit. And of course, Iran's infrastructure and nuclear infrastructure has actually been devastated, and that's kind of like their bottom line. If you strike that, then they will definitely retaliate, and Iran has said this is only the start of their retaliation. So yeah, peace in the Middle East, far-fetched dream for right now. And yeah, it's just definitely not looking good right now for inflation either, because oil obviously affects inflation. And I do expect next month's CPI to be excessively bad. And Jerome Powell, of course, will not cut rates, which kind of kills the prospect of any kind of bull run. So like internal economics, not good. Macroeconomics and worldwide geopolitics, not good. But we do have bullish news for both Bitcoin and altcoins. So once again, I do believe Bitcoin demand is going to be still very, very strong. I see maybe altcoins rising up at the end of the year as some of that demand from the ETF actually kicks in. I hope the ETF can be accepted earlier than the last possible day in October, but most likely, knowing how the SEC has taken care of things in the past, that most likely will not happen. And October, November should be the dates that we are actually looking at. And we have to keep close eye once those ETFs hit to see what kind of volumes they actually get. And is there any demand for those altcoins? Solana, XRP, Cardano, Doge are going to be some of the first ones out. And we're going to see like how much each one of those has in terms of volume. Some of them, like Solana, XRP, they actually have some corporations actually buying. I wouldn't look at the projected numbers for those companies because a lot of those companies are worth like their entire net worth is like a small part of what they want to raise in terms of money. So I'm not really sure how they're going to raise that much money. So I would put that aside, but at least they have some corporate commitments to buying their coins. Probably won't affect them much because it's not very much, but at least they have some. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.